Text or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
A wise nation honors and learns from its past. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. February is Black History Month, a celebration of the contributions that African Americans have made to American history in their struggles for freedom and equality. Knowledge is our strongest tool against injustice. Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
I'm Chris Jakovic. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is "My job is people, everyone is my business." But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakovic, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. My service never stops.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
The Serve Nebraska Volunteer Service Commission was created to ensure that community service would always be a priority in our state. I'm Governor Jim Pillen, and this year I'm inviting you to help celebrate Serve Nebraska's 30th year by becoming a volunteer. Our state's best resource is its people. You have the potential to make a significant impact. Thank you.
Sponsored by Serve Nebraska, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning now in our new time. We're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America. Welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hello and welcome into the Daily Nebraskan show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. I'm Ben Droz, one of the sports writers at the Daily Nebraskan, which is UNL's independent student newspaper, and I'm joined here by the senior sports editor at the Daily Nebraskan, Joseph Meyer.
Yes, sir. We're back.
You awake, Joseph?
I'm so awake. I'm ready to be here. Missed last week's show that I'm usually on Thursday night. Was out of town in Indianapolis for a leadership conference.
Nice.
Which was fun. But the most fun part was being in a college basketball state. That is a college basketball state if I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
Indiana, Purdue, Butler, Indiana State, Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've seen the Indiana State guy. He's going viral on Twitter, but just a total like Jokic, but just a poverty Jokic. And he's got tattoos and speed flexes like
I know who you're talking about.
Wilhelm Breidenbach kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I was in the same state as him for a weekend. That was fun. But we're back.
Well, that's great. Yeah. Glad you're back here. And we are going to start off with men's basketball, which is what we usually start off with. You know, it's kind of all the talk.
It has been the talk.
Lincoln, yeah. So I know we kind of we recapped the Nebraska-Illinois game last episode, but I kind of want to start maybe a few minutes doing that again just to get your thoughts. Joseph, I mean, that was just a tough loss for Nebraska against Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough loss. It is an encouraging loss.
Yeah. Over
some of the other ones we've seen. But most of all, I think I'm going to sound like every other, hypothetical here. Every other guy that thinks that when they watch Nebraska basketball, they curse it. They've missed 3 games this year. 3 home games. Indiana, Purdue, Wisconsin. So the 2 big giant wins. And a solid win over Indiana.
Yeah.
They were struggling against Indiana in the past. Watching the Illinois game, turn it off to walk home, down 10, look at my phone, they're down 1.
Yeah.
So I think essentially I shouldn't watch any more games and Nebraska will win out, right?
Yeah.
Is that how it goes?
So I think effective immediately, you watch no more games.
Okay.
You won't be on the show anymore.
Okay.
And Nebraska will be national champions. It's going to be great.
Yeah, that was a weird game, dude. Like I've never seen a team like they love to play from behind. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, but it frustrates me because I kind of talked about this yesterday, but what I get, like Gary, I get he's coming back off injury, but can we get him in the starting lineup already? He played like 34, 35 minutes. He had a pretty good game off the bench. Wilcher didn't, but he did. I want him back in the starting lineup. And then Jamarcus Lawrence has just been really struggling. And I just feel like our starting lineup isn't as good as other teams. So I feel like we just get behind early. It feels like not every game, but it feels like a lot of the time. I feel like our starting lineup's not as strong as other teams.
They do. Again, though, it's just Illinois is just such a talented team.
And it was on the road.
So much size, so much talent. And I was overall impressed with it. You know, they move up in the net. That was kind of the discussion around that. Was like, they moved up 5 spots in the net with a loss. Imagine if they got the win.
Yeah.
The win would have set them up for a lot more success down the stretch, which we'll touch on later in the show. The loss does not hurt them.
No, not really.
It just makes things more urgent. Yeah. And that is what they got to do this week. They're still, they're back in Illinois, Northwestern this time. It makes things more urgent. You don't get a huge resume building win, but they have those resume building wins.
Yeah.
It's been the wins that they just kind of need to scratch off that they haven't been able to get.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't really an expectation that Nebraska was going to win that game.
No, not at all.
So
we came on here last week and we're just talking about if Nebraska can find a way to win one of these next 3, that would be huge. 2 would be massive and probably tournament clinching.
And 3 is just...
There is a world where they beat Illinois and they win all 3. And so that, I think over that stretch, after what we had seen from the previous week to this week, much more impressive, much more fight in that team, especially on the road, especially down in big situations. if I'm Nebraska, I'm more confident moving into this final stretch now that we've seen what they can do against Wisconsin and Illinois. Because that was the big question is like, okay, they have that big win against Purdue. They have some solid wins in the past, Michigan State, Kansas State. Like those were good, solid resume building wins. But was it fluky? Are they going to have kind of a crash on the stretch?
I was kind of feeling
I think they proved this week that that's not the case.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's not a fluke at home. And that's like definitely like in the realm of discussion. Like it is like Nebraska's one of the best home teams, I feel like, in the nation. Like I don't feel like it's that far of a reach to say that. It's just been on the road. I was not as mad about or like I didn't think it was as disappointing as of a loss for Nebraska as some Husker fans on Twitter thought it was. Some Husker fans were very mad that they lost.
Again, the fashion with which they lost, you can't be too disappointed. I mean, that's an Illinois team that I would not be surprised if that's finally the Big Ten team outside of Michigan that makes it deep, outside of the state of Michigan, that makes it deep into the tournament.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with just their size, and Nebraska fought till the end, got to overtime, got a couple lucky breaks, got some really unlucky breaks, but ultimately that's the kind of game you have to have because those other road losses had been gross road losses. Like Maryland, just disgusting. Iowa, just painful. Rutgers,
hard to watch.
Rutgers was just an ugly game.
I wanted to turn the TV
so
off.
Frustrating. And then this game was, yes, a loss, and it was very unfortunate that they couldn't get it done. But you got to walk away from that one feeling good, and you have to feel great moving into the Northwestern game.
Yeah.
After coming off of 2 winnable games, where Northwestern's coming into this matchup off of 2 losses.
Yeah.
And so momentum's in Nebraska's favor, in my opinion, even off of the loss. But they're going on the road. They're going to a place where teams go to die. This is, I mean, Evanston, Illinois is a very similar place to Lincoln, Nebraska this season, where good teams struggle to play. And Northwestern has been really, really, really good at home. So let's kind of dive into the Wildcats, because this is a fun team, man.
Yeah. I think keys to success are going to be what I say every week. So I'm just kind of repeating myself, but don't turn the ball over. That's why Nebraska almost beat Illinois. They only had 9 turnovers to Illinois', what was it, 14? I think it was 14. Like that's why it was close. Illinois is like the best rebounding team in the Big Ten, one of the best in the nation. Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of knew Nebraska wasn't going to win the battle on the boards. That wasn't surprising. Nebraska's an undersized team, but it was the turnovers. Don't turn the ball over. And that's why it was close.
Yeah. And even some of those were down the stretch when, like, for most of that game, they were pretty consistent. Northwestern, though, very different team here.
Yeah.
Great guard play, not a great rebounding team at all, worse than the Big Ten. So there's an opportunity here. If you don't turn the ball over and you win the rebounding battle, Nebraska's won almost every game when they do that.
Yeah. I mean, when Nebraska played Northwestern earlier in the season, they got the win. I mean, I was kind of thinking Alec could maybe have a pretty good game. That he had like probably his best game of the season. I think Alec could have a very similar production there. I really hope, though, that Gary gets in the starting lineup. I really want to see him back in the starting lineup. I think Alec off the bench is just an energy guy off the bench. I think that's what Nebraska needs. Because, like, don't move Wilcher. He's, like, really comfortable in his 6-man role. Like, don't mess with that. But, like, other than that, I just feel like the bench production with Nebraska has been kind of fluky. Like, Sam Hoiberg gives good minutes, but it's not like, he's not putting up points.
Right. But that's not his role. He's there to bring the energy, like you said. And I don't think that should be Alec's role either, is to bring scoring production. It should be energy rebound, defense.
I want that off the bench.
And like, yes. And we saw against Wisconsin, he made a huge play at the end of the game, stealing the ball and, getting it to Hoiberg. Like that's the energy that this Nebraska team plays with. There are some guys on the team that look lackadaisical at times, make, dumb passes.
Yeah.
Just look like they're not trying on defense.
Never Alec.
Hoiberg are those guys that aren't doing, as uncoordinated as Alec looks sometimes on the offensive end. He does bring the energy. I think Gary is still getting back to full form, and so I think he probably will be as much back as he can this week.
He played 34 minutes.
Right. I know.
Like, he's fine.
He'll be fine. Like you said last week, of like, if this is a must-win game, he's playing, and then, you know, he did. So yeah, I think it's a big opportunity though on the boards for Mast as well, for Alec, for Gary, to kind of just come here and play some bully ball on the boards, because it's been a while since we've seen that kind of effort, and it needs to happen soon.
Yeah, and Gary's one of the best rebounders on our team,
100%.
on Nebraska's team, which is why I want to see him in the starting lineup, because I feel like he's a better fit next to Mast than Alec is, in my opinion. Alec has been good. I'm not like dogging on him or anything. I just think Gary brings a different element to the starting lineup that it needs. About the Jamarcus Lawrence thing, though, is it crazy for me to say that I want Hoiberg to start over Lawrence?
I don't think it's crazy at all.
I want Hoiberg to get more minutes. I really
do as well. I just love his game so much. I love what he stands for. I think
Lawrence has struggled.
Lawrence just can't be a point guard on this team. And
no, I feel like Bryce Williams is good enough at the point. Like, he's not really a point guard, but like, he's fine in that role. They don't need Lawrence there.
I agree. It's tough because I do think Lawrence has shown some flashes at points. This is specifically last year, showed some flashes. It's been a struggle this year. There's been some turnover issues. There's been some effort issues at times. And that is the opposite of Sam Hoiberg.
Yeah.
I don't know necessarily if the starting lineup specifically matters. So, I mean, you're looking at minutes, who's playing more. But I 100% more minutes for Hoiberg, whether that looks like putting him in the starting lineup or not. I doubt that will happen. But yeah, more minutes for Sam Hoiberg. I said it. I know Wilcher didn't have a great game against Illinois, but we were talking about more minutes for him, and that paid off against Wisconsin. Northwestern, this is a team that they're going to beat Nebraska the same way Nebraska gets beat, like just shooting the lights out of the gym.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if this is a shootout, to be completely honest. Both of these teams have had hectic weeks. Both of them have played overtime in their last two games. Northwestern's been on the road back-to-back games. Emotional game against Purdue, which I want to touch on in a second, get your thoughts on. Then you go to Minneapolis and lose. So both these teams lost in Minneapolis. Northwestern has played 3 overtimes in their last 4. Got it done against Illinois. Couldn't get it done against Purdue. So kind of those, opposites there of where they lost Purdue on the road. Northwestern beat Illinois at home, whereas Nebraska did the opposite there. Both very fiery, emotional teams that rely on their home crowds. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a shootout, but Northwestern's not going to beat you on the boards, beat you up, up front. They're just such a guard-driven team. Their guards are elite, though, and so if they get hot, that would concern me if I'm Nebraska. I wanted to get your thoughts on Chris Collins getting fired up after that loss, because I loved it when they lost to Purdue, and he just fired up the crowd. Got tossed out of the game with like half a second left, raised his hands up, pumped to the crowd. That's the opposite of Fred Hoiberg. Like, complete opposite. You watch the Wisconsin game, Hoiberg's just, step back, mask 3, and he's the same face no matter what. I kind of like the fired up coach. I don't know if that would work for this Nebraska team, but Chris Collins is a character, and I love it. I'm going to be honest.
There's a time for a Hoiberg, and there's a time for that. So it's just, but I mean, what Hoiberg's been doing is good. No matter how many Husker fan Twitter pages say he should be fired for whatever reason. So going back to the last time Nebraska played Northwestern when they won.
Yeah.
They won, but it was barely, and they were at home. What needs to change, they had 18 turnovers, I'm pretty sure, in that Northwestern game.
Yeah.
Can't turn the ball over. Rebounding battle once again. And then Bryce Williams needs to match the guard play of the Northwesterns. Like, they need him on both ends. They're going to need everything that they can get from him, not only on offensive end, but on the defensive end as well. And that's another reason I want Gary in the starting lineup, is because I feel like Gary could help out a lot with that too, with the defensive effort he can bring.
Yeah, that was a weird one because you felt like Nebraska should have won that by a lot more.
It was because of the turnovers.
And you go back and look, and they got a combined 15 points from Ty Berry and Boo Buie.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that ad. You're not getting 2 of 15 shooting from Boo Buie, unfortunately.
And that's what scares me a little bit is because it's like they're not going to shoot that poorly again.
No.
You can't
and
imagine.
So the advantage has to be on the boards up front. Like Northwestern just has a rotating cast of big guys that none of them play very many minutes.
Yeah.
And to be honest, they're just not that impressive. Could be a big opportunity for Mast, who struggled.
They need to feed him, though.
Yeah.
Nebraska has to feed him. I feel like the games he has struggled with were either A, when he was dealing with the injury, or B, when he's not getting the ball. Like, there's some times where he just, like, Nebraska just doesn't give him the ball. Like, in that Maryland game, I just feel like he wasn't getting as many opportunities as he usually does. He had 5 points in that Maryland game, if I remember correctly. Like, that's on its school.
He only had 8. Only had 8 against Northwestern. I think he had, like,
I know.
4 of 11 from the field. So,
I mean, he's our best post player on offense by far. Like, I just don't get why. Like, Nebraska can just be such a 3-point happy team. And against Northwestern, I would just really like to see if they would attack the paint a little bit more. Just a little bit more.
And I think they will. I think, again, this is not that long ago. It doesn't feel that long ago, but it's a very different team. Right? Like, this is, Mass is still struggling with the injury off of 2 really ugly games, Iowa and Rutgers. No Gary. Like, this is going to be a different approach. So I'm not expecting a similar result because of that. But again, it would not surprise me if Northwestern's guards just get really hot from deep and they don't miss, and it's one of those nights. Like, they are capable of having those kind of nights. And they're going to be hungry. They are going to be hungry. I know Chris Collins is going to have those guys fired up. 2 straight losses on the road, both in overtime. I mean, they win both those games. That's their tournament resume solidified.
Yeah.
Like,
and they really can't afford a loss against Nebraska here, I don't feel like. I don't think Northwestern can really afford it. I mean, they can easily make a run in the Big Ten tournament and still make in the Big Ten tournament, still make the NCAA tournament. But like, if they lose against Nebraska here, they're going to have to play very strong
because
down the stretch.
At that point, they're firmly behind Nebraska in the bubble race, whereas right now they're a little bit ahead.
Which is weird to me still.
It is weird because they have worse losses. Like,
it's just the losses. I feel
the
like.
non-con losses for them are just not great at all. You know, they
Nebraska's
lose to
was
Mississippi State, who's a solid team, but nowhere near a Creighton level.
No.
And they lose to Chicago State. So that was a really bad loss.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. At home. Their wins, I don't think their wins are.
They played Wisconsin. Was it Wisconsin or Illinois tough? Or Purdue?
They beat Illinois at home, and they beat Purdue at home. So
was it the Wisconsin game they barely lost in overtime? Or am I thinking of a different team?
I'm thinking of a different team. It wasn't overtime, but they lost by 8. So
okay. That's what I'm thinking of.
Similar, and that was at Wisconsin. So a very similar resume in terms of the wins, where you get 2 really big wins against top 10 teams at home, and then you lose to another one on the road. But they also have, in my opinion, worse losses. The Rutgers loss and the Maryland loss and the Iowa loss. They don't have any of those, but they do have a Minnesota loss now. So
I feel like a lot of it also with this bracketology stuff might just be like name brand, like Nebraska. Like, they're still, Nebraska's just never been here before.
Yeah,
it's like,
I don't think Northwestern's getting the credit of name brand though. They're pretty.
I get it, but like,
they're pretty close to Nebraska in the historically bad.
I understand. I'm not saying they're blue blood team by any stretch, but I'm saying like, they've made the tournament. They were a 7 seed in one of the tournaments, I believe, or 10 or a 7. It's like they they've been more successful.
No,
recently,
yeah, 100%. And this is something I wanted to get your thoughts on. Why I think this game is so important is because you put yourself above Northwestern in those discussions. You lose this game, pretty much automatically, they're going to be ahead of Nebraska in every discussion.
They can't catch up.
They can't improve their resume enough down the stretch.
Unless it's Big Ten tournament.
And while I don't think this game necessarily is do or die, it just gives you way more wiggle room. Because you lose this game and then you lose another one, like, it's really, again, depending on who the game is, but like, you lose to a Michigan or a Rutgers at home, like
on the road.
It's a struggle to do that. And you'd have a hard time making that argument, especially with two. Like, I think there's still an art. My take is you lose Northwestern, you get one more buffer game potentially. If you lose a third down the stretch, you're probably out unless you make a run in the Big Ten tournament. What do you think?
Well, Nebraska has 2 wins over top 6 teams, not even top 6. So, I mean, the resume's there.
Like right, but they're still only a bubble team right now. Like,
I mean, the struggles on the road. I feel like when Nebraska starts to pile a win streak coming down the stretch here, I said before this 3-game stretch against Wisconsin, Illinois, Northwestern, I said Nebraska needs to get 2 if they want to be locked in before the Big Ten tournament. 1 is still doable if you want to make the tournament. If they lost all of them, they were going to need a run in the Big Ten tournament. But I was saying 2 if you want to be locked in. So it's like, what's the goal? If Nebraska loses to Northwestern, they're still very much in the tournament race.
Oh, there's 100%.
There's, like you said, less room for error. So Nebraska can't lose to Northwestern and then also like lose to a Michigan on the road.
It's a weird one because like it's kind of the only game over the last even couple weeks, like basically the last week until the end of the season, that can help and hurt you. And if you feel me, like Wisconsin, Illinois, those games weren't going to hurt you very much if you lost them.
No, this Northwestern one will hurt.
And you saw how the Illinois actually helped them. The loss helped them, even though they lost. Northwestern will hurt you. Like, this is a bubble team. This isn't a great team, but it's also a solid win. It's a team that's right around Nebraska in the net rankings.
And it gives you the road win.
And it gives you the road win. And it gives you the conference road win. It gives you the leg up on Northwestern, and it bumps you into that double bye in the Big Ten tournament should you win out. And that's something that we haven't discussed a lot because they have that tiebreaker over Michigan State now. Will they win out? I don't know. It's 100% doable. But like I said, you cannot, if you lose Northwestern and then you turn around and lose to a Michigan, or you lose to a Rutgers, or you lose to an Indiana, or you even lose to an Ohio State, like that is like the people that don't want Nebraska in the NCAA tournament will point to that and say, hey, that is not an acceptable win down the stretch with a full, strength squad when, again, you've had some questionable losses on the road.
Yeah, I'm going to play devil's advocate. So let's say Nebraska doesn't beat Northwestern, plays okay down the stretch, loses against a Rutgers or a Indiana, somebody like that. The devil's advocate's going to be, okay, like this is a good team when they're at home, but it's like, what are they going to do at the tournament? It's just like, is this team really going to be able to make any noise during the tournament? You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it feels so much like the Illinois, like, even though it was a loss, that was an NCAA tournament game.
Oh,
like,
100%.
What it felt like. So that game helped. Northwestern is just such a critical game. I feel like it's the most critical one out of the 3 because, like you said, it's the bubble team that Nebraska's competing with. If Nebraska lost to Wisconsin, Illinois, those teams are ahead of them. Nebraska's not passing those teams. It needs to be like this Northwestern game means that Nebraska can jump Northwestern, get that double bye, get a bye in the Big Ten tournament. And, that also helped. So right now, I think when I saw the Big Ten standings, like if the season ended right now, Nebraska would play either like Iowa or Rutgers. Like Nebraska's not going to lose that game in Big Ten tournament. So
you say that. We've seen them lose to some pretty bad teams before.
Okay, this is a different team.
It is a different team.
This is a team that beat Purdue and Wisconsin.
I agree.
Like we need to start giving them props. Yes, on the road, it's bad. It's bad. Like if Nebraska would have gotten, smoked out of the water, like would have been really bad against Illinois, I would not be feeling as good about Nebraska. But they played Illinois really tough, and they should bring that energy against Northwestern. Even if they lose against Northwestern, it's gonna hurt. They're going to be more of a bubble team, but all it takes is 2 wins in the Big Ten tournament. They're probably in, as long as they play good down the stretch.
Yeah, I think my take is you get 2 losses down the stretch. I think 3, you need wins in the Big Ten tournament.
I think you're going to need wins in the Big Ten tournament no matter what, unless you beat Northwestern. If you don't beat Northwestern, you can't be a first-round exit in the Big Ten tournament.
Okay.
That's my, like, even if they win out after the losing Northwestern, if they get bounced first round, it'll be close.
Yeah. Because, I mean, yeah, it's so tough there because it really would depend on what the teams do above you in the bubble.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just like, guessing that Nebraska would probably not get in. Like right now, Nebraska's like, I get they just lost to Illinois, but like they're on a high right now. This is like, they're on a high. They beat Wisconsin, played Illinois really tough, and they're still like considered a bubble team.
If they don't get in with 23 wins, I think there would be serious questions about the committees. I get that there's not really any resume building opportunities, but there's still 7 win opportunities after this game. And that would get you to 23 wins. Even with the first round exit in the Big Ten tournament, it would be hard to make the argument to leave out a 23-win team that beat 2 top 10 teams in their own building. Also beat a Kansas State team that beat Kansas. Also beat a pretty solid Michigan State team. Also beat a Northwestern team that would be in the tournament. I grant, split the series there.
I mean, also Nebraska's probably not going to win out the last 7. It's probably I doubt I don't think, oh man, they played Illinois good. Even if they play Northwestern good, oh, they're definitely going to beat Michigan on the road, Indiana on the road. Like those are games that are probably, maybe not the Michigan one. Nebraska should win that, but like Indiana on the road, like that's a trap game in my opinion.
It is a trap game. I think it's one that they win. The one that would concern me the most for Nebraska is Penn State.
Yeah.
But you have a week to prepare for that. And then a quick turnaround at Indiana. So those two would be the 2 that I would be concerned if I'm Nebraska. I just think there's still an opportunity if you win out to get into 23 wins and be secure, even if you lose in the Big Ten tournament. But you avoid all of this discussion by beating Northwestern.
If Nebraska beats Northwestern and then just doesn't lose all the rest of these last ones, just even if they lose 2 of them, they just go like 5-2. They're getting in.
Because you're a bubble team, regardless if you win or lose this game at Northwestern. So it doesn't change necessarily how many wins you need to get, but your wins can come against Northwestern instead of trying to come against a trap game like Indiana, like you said.
See, this is what I don't even feel like if they lose to to an Indiana, like whatever. It's just the conference. I feel like it's just the road discussion. That's all this is the committee doesn't know if they can trust Nebraska in the NCAA tournament because they've only done it at home.
And there's only a few.
Just get a road win.
Yeah. There's only a few opportunities left though. Like
just get it. Even if it's not against Northwestern, beat Indiana, beat Michigan on the road. Do not lose to Michigan on the road. Because that's the last game, or is that the last game?
That's the last game.
If I'm just saying,
it's an 11 a.m. game though, and it's the last game of the season. That place will be empty. That place will not be a road environment. I don't think they'll get credit for beating Michigan on the road. They'll say that's a neutral site environment because there could genuinely be more Nebraska fans at that Michigan game in Ann Arbor.
Probably
11 a.m. on March 10th.
That's why I don't even really care about that Michigan game. It's the Indiana game on the road. I really want them to get
okay.
Nebraska loses that one, it'll be bad. But we got to throw it to break. When we come back, we're gonna get some women's basketball talk coming in. We have Rachel calling in, so it's gonna be a great next segment.
Big win over Michigan.
Yeah,
tonight
they beat Michigan. Kind of snapped. They lost 3 out of the last 4 before this game, so it was a much needed win for Nebraska women's basketball. We'll talk about it more in the next break, right after this.
A lot of work goes into making Nebraska, Nebraska. Keeping it green. Helping it thrive. Making it fun. Everything that goes into caring for our outdoors, from waters to wildlife, plays a big role in making Nebraska home. Learn how we help conserve our state's natural resources at outdoornebraska.org.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Husker fans, this is Matt Davison with the 1890 Initiative. You've probably heard about NIL, name, image, and likeness, and now you can have an immediate impact on the success of our programs. The 1890 Initiative is Nebraska's premier NIL company, and with your help, we can maximize our student athletes' opportunities with NIL and prepare them for life after college. Nebraska has always been a leader in college athletics. Let's do the same with NIL. To learn more, visit 1890nebraska.com, where 100% of your donation goes directly to Husker student athletes. That's 1890nebraska.com.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Husker fans, it's your last chance to catch your top-ranked Nebraska wrestling team in action at the Bob Devaney Sports Center as they host a top 15 conference matchup on Friday, February 9th against number 13 Michigan. It's their annual Pepsi Pack the House duel, and all tickets and 24-ounce Pepsi products are just $1. The duel starts at 6 p.m. Get your tickets today by visiting huskers.com/tickets or call 402-472-3111.
A smoke-free environment is the only way to fully protect from the dangers of secondhand smoke. That's why smoke-free policies are so important to me. Whether it's in my car, apartment building, or when I'm dining outdoors, there's no place for secondhand smoke or e-cigarette aerosol. Breathe easier knowing the facts. Visit smokefree.ne.gov. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back into the DOE Nebraska show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Ben and Joseph still here with you. And on the Owl VIP line, we now have Rachel Miller on. She covered the Nebraska women's basketball game against Michigan. Nebraska women's basketball pulls off the win against Michigan, only by 6 points, but still a win nonetheless, 65-59. Nebraska was down early after the first period. They were down 15-8, but then a good second quarter gave them the lead back, and then they never looked back after that. Rachel, first off, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing so great. How are you guys doing tonight?
Oh, we're doing great.
Doing well. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
All right. So can I so that first period, like I said, Nebraska was down early in that game. What did you see or kind of notice that changed into that second period? Because Nebraska outscoring Michigan 20-14 in that second period. What did you see that kind of changed from that, then also after halftime for Nebraska?
Yeah, I saw definitely in the first half. They had 10 total turnovers in the first half, which I believe probably not the highest they've had in turnovers, but definitely a high that I've seen so far with them. And their defense, it didn't really seem like they were communicating and just clicking tonight in that first half. But second half, I would have loved to be in the locker room when Coach Williams was talking to them during halftime to see what she told them to get them together.
Yeah, it was I was watching, it was kind of it was gross. It was a gross first quarter.
Yeah.
I believe it was 4 of 11 from the field, 0 of 7 from deep. And you start to think like this is another, Michigan's a bubble team right now, but after really struggling over the last couple weeks, losing last 3 of 4, it can start to pile into one of these, losses.
Especially when you're playing 2 ranked teams.
100%. You're down 9. Rachel, who really stood out, kind of in that change? Were there any players specifically that you felt like kind of motivated the team and got them back rolling in that second half?
Yeah, it was definitely Alexis Markowski. She had 19 points tonight and 9 rebounds. She was so close to getting another double-double, and I found out that she has 33 double-doubles so far in her career at Nebraska.
Yeah. She's been a double-double machine.
She's awesome to
She
watch.
is.
She's awesome to watch. Yeah. There was a point there where she, got fouled pretty hard on, a take and you could kind of just see the emotions change a little bit. And she just kind of, you felt her start to turn into, her alter ego there. And then from there on out, just strong up at the rim, went up really strong. And it was impressive to watch. She is so powerful. She led all players in points and rebounds tonight. So really a big impetus of turning that game around.
Yeah, I really have to agree with that. Besides Alexis, I have to say Natalie Potts was really doing really well tonight. I feel like she always has a really good night though.
Yeah.
Lately this year, as a freshman especially, she's been Big Ten freshman all season, really, I believe. So she's doing amazing.
Yeah, Potts has been really consistent for Nebraska. Shelly kind of struggled on the night. She had 4 turnovers, which isn't terrible, but for your starting point guard as a senior, was a little rough. Only had 10 points. So yeah, they definitely had to lean on Markowski. I've really been impressed with just how much better Markowski has improved every year. Like you can just tell Markowski is just feeling a lot more confident when she has the ball in the post, in my opinion, this year than last year. She had in my opinion, she had 2 moves in the post. This year, it's a lot different. She's able
more of a mixed bag.
Yeah, she has more mixed bag. She definitely she was one of the better Big Ten posts last year, but this year, it's even another step forward in that. Looking ahead, Nebraska has 2 ranked opponents coming up next, and the first one being Iowa. Iowa always a headlining game, but Nebraska has never gotten on the right side of that. Caitlin Clark never scored below 30 points against Nebraska, which I still think it's crazy. How are you feeling about Nebraska's next game against Iowa?
I watched the Iowa game. It was rough to watch. I was so excited for them when they had the lead for a little bit there, and then it just went down.
Yeah.
But I feel like because they will have home court advantage, maybe, you want to protect home court advantage all the time.
Yeah, it's gonna be a rowdy.
It's one of the Iowa's is such a tough team. Caitlin Clark is unfazed traveling to Nebraska. I feel like she likes being in Nebraska. She says she loves playing.
As you would if you're her, 100%.
Why? She's just not phased at all. Nebraska last year played better on the road against Iowa than they did at home. Nebraska had a pretty good first half against Iowa. Second half, things kind of started to unravel. I mean, it's just so hard though to contain Caitlin Clark for all 4 quarters. What do you feel like is your key to Nebraska maybe being able to pull an upset off against Iowa?
I would say definitely make sure Darian White is healthy. She was out this game from a lower body injury during the Rutgers game. So, definitely making sure she's healthy, making sure defense is communicating well and they're clicking. And just, it's going to be a very short turnover from this game to Sundays. But I do know that Coach Williams has said that these girls love it because it gives them, they love being prepared as a team.
You said something, you were talking about White going out, and I know I was going to ask you about this, but, Shelly's been dealing with some nagging injuries as well. There was a point where she went down and was a little bit gimpy coming up, White being out of this game, but Kendall Moore already got the start tonight. Only had 3 points, only 3 rebounds, but what do you see from her as stepping up in that role without the absence of White and, being a contributing piece in a big win?
Yeah, I was really happy to see her in. happy for the circumstances, why she was in. But I think the more she gets time on the court, she's going to get better. Yeah, she only had 30 points today, but I don't know. She's still young. She has those chances to really get just in the game. And yeah.
Yeah. Moriarty last year when I was covering the team, she kind of just seemed like the Swift Army knife for the team. Like, you know, she, like Amy Williams, she said it in her post-game press conferences. Like her favorite thing about Moriarty is she can kind of put her anywhere. Probably not like the 5, but you know, she could play 2 through 4. She can, if they need her to maybe be a little bit more of a guard, she can. She has a little bit more size. She can play the forward. They just like the versatility that Moriarty can bring in that role. But Shelly, if Nebraska has a chance against Iowa, Shelly's going to need to have a better game, and then Nebraska's going to have to be able to shoot the ball from deep. I mean, that's just bottom line. Only making 5 3. If they only make 5 threes against Iowa, it's just not going to happen. Caitlin Clark by herself is going to have 5 threes.
100%.
Yeah.
So it's just like, at the end of the day, team that puts the ball in the hoop more wins. And if you're not hitting shots, it's just going to be ugly.
Clark's going to have the opportunity to potentially break the record, you know, a scoring record that has been controversial, a little talk about, which, you know, we can touch on in a little bit, but to have a chance to break a record in PBA in front of Nebraska faithful, she's going to show up to play. I actually there were a couple sequences at the end of the game, and Rachel, I want to get your thoughts on this, where Shelly stepped up and made some really impressive defensive efforts. What did you see from her? You know, didn't have the biggest scoring night, again, dealing with some injuries, but what did you see from her at the end of the game on a couple of those, you know, drawing, you know, offensive foul, a couple steals there? What was impressive about her down the stretch there?
She just got back into it. Like, yeah, she had to sit out for a little bit because she did kind of limp off, which, okay, happens to everybody. But once she got back out on the court, she was like, I think she really brought the team together towards the end. And let's just finish this out. Let's go strong. And I really enjoy seeing her. She is such a great team player for the Husker women basketball team. And it's like, she's a beautiful player to watch.
Yeah.
Especially with tonight's game.
Definitely. Again, Rachel, we're on the Owl VIP one. Rachel, I think we're going to have to throw it to break here pretty soon. So that's all the time we're going to have with you. So I appreciate you calling in. Thanks again for covering the game. Again, if you want to read or recap, it's on dayonenebraskan.com. Go.
It's up on the site.
Yep. Up on the site. But again, thanks, Rachel, for staying up with us tonight.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Rachel. Have a good night.
All right. Again, that was Rachel Miller on the Owl VIP one. So Nebraska women's basketball has a little bit of a break until Sunday. So they have time to regroup before Iowa.
It's a big stretch. Iowa and then Ohio State, number 5 team in the country.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Michigan tonight was that was a game you had to win after how disappointing that Rutgers loss was and losing, you know, 3 of the last 4. You had to have a big win over Michigan tonight to move into this next stretch.
It could have snowballed bad. And especially when, you know, March is going to be creeping up more and more. Nebraska needed to right the ship a little bit, and this one definitely did that. We're going to have to throw it to break. When we come back, we're going to get some baseball and softball talk coming in because those seasons are going to be starting up here pretty soon. I get we're in the heart of basketball season, but baseball and softball, it's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah, this week for softball, next week for baseball. I'm kind of excited.
Yeah, so we're going to get some of that talk in the next segment. Again, you're listening to the Daily Nebraskan Show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People Seeding Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Attention all Wings fans! 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
A team succeeds when they work together. Banking's no different. At UBT, we're in your corner for every financial move you want to make. Your money's backed by a roster of experts who put in the work to know you and your community. So whether you're opening a savings account, buying a home, or planning your future, you always know who to turn to. Working together toward your financial goals. That's a win in our playbook. Union Bank and Trust. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is "My job is people, everyone is my business." But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. My service never stops.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back into the Daily Nebraskan show on 93.7 The Ticket. Ben and Joseph with you back. Ben, I've got a couple quick questions for you. I know we're going to dive into some baseball, softball talk as the seasons are starting up this week and next. But there's been a little bit of discussion this week about some NFL coaching vacancies.
Yeah.
Specifically related to Mike Vrabel for being too large and too intimidating.
Yeah.
Now, I was surprised he didn't get a job, to be honest. I was surprised Bill Belichick didn't get a job, although I understand why he did not, if he even wanted one in the first place. But now that all the coaching vacancies are filled, I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on what the best job is that was taken. So I could kind of go through them for you if you'd like. But yeah, we had Raheem Morris to the Falcons. Hold on here.
Harbaugh.
Obviously, Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Antonio Pierce to the Ravens. Now that was
Raiders. Yeah,
Raiders. Sorry, that was an interim. That was an interim hire, but still a new hire. Patriots, Jared Mayo. Seahawks got Mike McDonald, former Ravens offensive coordinator. Tennessee Titans got Brian Callahan, former Bengals offensive coordinator. So those were kind of under the radar. And then the Commanders, the last one to pick up a coach was Dan Quinn. That was, to me, The Dan Quinn hire was a little interesting because it seemed like they really wanted Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator, and then he drops out because they're not going to pay him enough. So of those positions, is there any one that really jumps off the page of like, that is a good spot to be if you're a head coach? Like, is there any of those that you would want to be at in this position? Because none of them are great. I certainly have my opinion, but I'd love to hear yours.
The first thing people are going to want to say is obviously the Chargers one.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, it's the AFC. You're in the same division as Patrick Mahomes. That's probably not, I get it's LA, but like, it's going to be so hard to compete in that division when Patrick Mahomes is in it. Not only are you in the AFC, but you're in the same division as Mahomes.
100%.
Like, and also Sean Payton and the Broncos. Sean Payton, we've seen him have success. Raiders,
right?
Raiders are always kind of a team that I feel like pulls off upsets in their division just randomly. You know, it's weird. I'm never scared of the Raiders, though. They're the Raiders. So, but yeah, the Chargers, like at first glance, you'd say the Chargers, but like it's tough with Mahomes. I feel like the Falcons, while it's not a flashy pick,
okay,
that is an uncompetitive division.
No, 100%.
And you're also in the NFC, a division that really just has the 49ers in it. Cowboys. You know the Cowboys are never going to do anything in the playoffs. Like, there's just not that many teams in the NFC that are like really top notch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Falcons have a lot of very talented offensive
and they're
weapons.
young.
They're young.
They're young.
They got to get the quarterback right. They got to figure that out, though.
I mean, does it really matter in that division, though? I get if you wanted to compete for a Super Bowl, I get it. You need.
Isn't that the ultimate goal, though? Like,
I
think
get it, but if
my
you're
opinion of is when you're hiring as a general manager, if you're hiring a head coach, you got to say, can this guy take me to a Super Bowl? Do we have this roster to take us to the Super Bowl?
I don't think that's what the Falcons are saying. They just had a coach that didn't know how to use like some of the best young offensive pieces in like the league. Like they just want a competent head coach. They just need to win the division first win the division. Then you think Super Bowl. Like teams that like look too far ahead, like I kind of like the Dolphins took their shot a little too early. And that's why just not going to work because now they have so much contract. Like they have so much, like they're going to be in cap. Like they have so much cap room that's like going to be dead. And like, it's not good. It's not pretty. They're paying a lot of players a lot of money, and it's going to be hard to make moves the more and more you do that. Now, this isn't the NBA where there's a salary cap or anything, but like you're limited on what you can do when all you have is a bunch of veteran players. From the Falcons, this is a place where you don't really have to hit the reset button. That was already hit. You have young pieces. You're in an uncompetitive division. Why not?
I agree with you to a point. But I think if you don't think Raheem Morris is the guy that can take you to that contending level with your young pieces.
You're saying which coaching job is the most appealing.
Right.
To me, that one, I would have rather had that one than the Chargers one.
Okay.
I get it. I get it's LA. But like, if I'm wanting to win as a head coach, like, okay, if I'm taking my first head coaching job, I'm not thinking Super Bowl first year. Probably.
Obviously not first year, but like, I think with the Falcons, it's hard. Like if your definition of like winning as a head coach is making the playoffs, that's certainly, a good possibility. I think the Seahawks is an underrated job. I really like Mike McDonald.
But that's such a hard division also too, though.
Yeah, but I mean, the NFL changes so frequently.
It does.
But these guys are in and out. Like the Rams are going to be on the decline. They're aging. They're aging.
That is
team.
true. Cardinals are the Cardinals.
The Cardinals, like, possibly can figure it out. I think they've made steps this year. But, again, Kyler Murray's questions with his health, and even when he's full health, is he, that elite level quarterback that can take you to the Super Bowl? Seahawks, outside of the quarterback, Geno Smith is that stopgap guy. I love their roster. They have some incredibly talented pieces.
Okay.
Kenneth Walker at running back I think he's going to be a future, what?
Okay, so you were just saying that Falcons, you don't have a quarterback. Then you bring up Seahawks, who have Geno Smith as their quarterback. I get Geno Smith is good, but like,
okay,
see, that's my argument. You're talking about Kenneth Walker. Falcons have Bijan Robinson.
I think Kenneth Walker's better at this point in his career, in my opinion.
He's been in the league longer,
but he was
a rookie.
Kenneth Walker has been used better.
That's because he's on the Seahawks, and Bijan Robinson has had Arthur Smith. I'm just saying, like, I get Seahawks.
I think the Falcons. You gotta factor in the Falcons organization, though. Like, Do you trust the Falcons to be a contending team? We've seen the Seahawks do it with a competent leadership at head coach, a defensive mind.
I don't even consider Pete Carroll that competent of a.
That's a very hot take. You won a Super Bowl.
He
Great
also
defense.
threw a Super Bowl away, but
yeah.
I was never a fan of Pete.
I like Mike McDonald a lot for that role. I think he will be a good transition of like tough-nosed defense, and they have the pieces. Wide receiver room, arguably one of the best in the league.
See, the Seahawks were a team that just needed to hit the reset button and didn't after the Russell Wilson trade. They needed to hit the reset. They kind of did. They brought in a bunch of young pieces, but they never figured out the quarterback position, and Geno Smith is only going to get you so far.
Right, but my thought is like if you bring in one of these later round, first round draft pick guys as quarterback and develop him a year under Geno Smith, like you bring in like a JJ McCarthy, a Bo Nix, a Michael Penix, one of the top level guys, sit him for a year and develop him. He's got weapons to throw to, and the Falcons should do the same.
You're saying how many times how much success stories has there been late first round? Like people were saying,
they're not late first round; they're more mid first round because they didn't make the playoffs. But they could certainly trade up. I
just like all the top quarterbacks are quarterbacks that were picked first half of the top half.
Lamar Jackson was an end of first round pick. Like,
but then again, he
sat a year behind Joe Flacco, like a mid tier quarterback that's not going to probably win.
He also won
Super Bowl.
Heisman though.
I
don't know how he fell that far.
Probably should have won the Heisman. Bo Nix was a Heisman finalist. Like there's guys I think for the Falcons as well and the Seahawks where you bring in a guy at quarterback who can develop behind. See, that's my thing with the Falcons is like there's no guy to develop behind. There's no like Alex Smith, Geno Smith, Joe Flacco guy that's like a leader, a veteran in the locker room. You can sit behind a year, develop, and then take over the job once they move off of him. Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke are not those guys. Like you need a completely new quarterback in Atlanta this next season.
Hey man, you want to know who's an Atlanta, Georgia native that's a veteran that says he's a top 32 quarterback in the league, although he's not. Do you know who I'm talking about?
If I had to take a guess, I think I know who you're talking about.
Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Hey.
No.
Okay, I just wanted to bring it up. I knew that they're not. He's not going to ever get back on a team. But couldn't one person that does bring me up though that should be in the league? What about Colin Kaepernick? What if like the Falcons go crazy, bring in Colin Kaepernick, draft a quarterback first round?
It's been too long. The game has changed so much over the last decade where like these quarterbacks they've been out. I think they still a lot of these older guys have the talent to bring it back, but we've even seen guys in the league that have been consistent and they still weren't able to revive their career. So I think you go young quarterback 10 out of 10 times as a team with a young quarterback.
I'm just saying you want the stopgap, Colin Kaepernick.
No, that you got to go with like an Andy Dalton, a Geno, like one of those
Andy
consistent
Dalton
leader.
He's not going to do anything.
You're not trying to win year one.
Okay, no, it's not even that. He's not going to develop. He's going to be like, I feel like he's going to throw a fit like Ryan Tannehill did.
I think Ryan Tannehill would be a good guy to bring in as a stop guy. Yeah, that's my opinion.
He didn't want to develop Will Levis. I don't think
you don't need the other quarterback to develop Will Levis though. You need a guy that can sit behind and learn from, even if he's just watching. That's what the Packers have done over the course of their tenure.
They had Hall of Fame quarterbacks that they were sitting behind. That's different than Andy Dalton.
Tyrod Taylor, that's a guy you could sit behind. There's a lot of these stopgap guys. Justin Herbert.
I don't know. How much better of a stopgap? I was like, how much are they really going to benefit by sitting behind Geno Smith?
I just think you don't want to throw end of the first round guy to the Wolves right away.
You have Desmond Ridder, you have
JJ
Taylor
McCarthy
Heineke
to start year one.
But you have Taylor Heineke, you have Desmond Ridder. Start him if you don't want to throw him into the Wolves.
I think like a Michael Penix, Bo Nix would be a way better day one starter than.
Well, you're saying you don't want to throw him in. Either you do or you don't.
Right. So, but if you only have Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke on the roster, you have to throw him to the Wolves. That's my opinion.
So you just feel like they're wasting time if they do that. See, I feel like in the NFL, unless you really have like an actual leader that they're sitting behind, just start him.
I agree.
You just wait. Like the Steelers were just wasting time when they were starting Mitchell Trubisky. They were just wasting time. Just start Kenny Pickett.
Well, I don't think Kenny Pickett's very good.
Well, I'm just saying though that like Why were they starting Trubisky? What was that? What was that accomplishing?
To make the playoffs and win 10 games or 9 games and continue the streak, I guess. Who knows?
Yeah. How much longer is Tomlin gonna deal
Probably
with that?
forever. Probably forever. He'll never win a playoff game, but he'll never win another playoff game.
They're never
They'll
gonna.
make the
I'm not saying he's gonna get fired. I'm saying how much longer is he gonna put up with the Steelers organization?
Oh, that's interesting. There was rumors this offseason about him going.
That's what I'm
other
saying.
teams.
I'm just wondering how much longer.
But he's a Steeler guy at heart.
I guess. Well, we got to end the show. We've gone a little bit too long.
Got carried away.
Yeah, we were supposed to talk about softball and baseball. We just didn't.
I think we should. I can't wait till Thursday when I get to talk about Brock Purdy because I love Brock Purdy.
Oh yeah,
we
could do a little bit of a Super Bowl preview.
Oh, we will
Thursday show.
And I'm going to talk about Brock Purdy, and you're going to love it.
I'm not a hater. I honestly don't want Taylor Swift to win, so
okay,
it'll be fine. Well, that's all we got for the Day One Nebraska show here on 937 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Tomorrow we have me and I believe Anthony is going to be on tomorrow to recap the with Northwestern
game. Yeah, big one.
That's probably going to be all we're going to be talking about on that show. And then Thursday, probably get more men's basketball talk in, women's basketball talk, NFL talk, because Super Bowl is going to be coming up. So all that and more is going to be coming up later in the week. But until then, we are out of here.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the...
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2